Hello guys, it's me Urahara, and in this video we'll discuss the events of episode 18, which witnessed many important events, the most important of which is the fight between Renji and Masculine, as well as the release of the Bankai of Rose for the first time in the story. First of all, I have to say that I will miss Masculine, a character that changed my perspective when I saw him in the anime. I'm talking here about his personality and his relationship with James, who actually appears to be the real person. As long as the anime has reached this point, we can proceed from Kubo's answer to one of the questions that were asked regarding Masculine and James. Because many believe that Masculine was the real person, especially since he was the first to appear in the story alongside with Ace Note. But with the death of Masculine, Urahara said James and didn't say Masculine. So Kubo's answer was that James is the real body and that Masculine is the embodiment of his ideal hero. But to say more precisely, James and Masculine are one. And this is a point that would have been an important factor in defeating Masculine in front of Renji, and we'll talk about it shortly. But going back to the first appearance of Masculine, there is something funny about that topic, and it shows that how the balance of power in that fight between Renji and Masculine was unusual. So in the first invasion, Renji was with Byakuya, and when he wanted to release the Bankai, Masculine appeared and kicked him with his feet. One kick from Masculine without even using wall standing, it was enough to make Renji fall to the ground motionless. Hence the level of power that Renji had at that time was weak. It can be said that Renji's level at that time was the same as Hisage's, Yumichika and Ikkaku's. He might be a little stronger than them, but in the end, Renji was at the same level as the vice captains. And it would happen to him like what happened to Hisage and the rest in the second invasion. So, what happened? First of all, what we can agree on is that the Royal Palace as a place for training is not the same as the Soul Society. The difference is very big in terms of everything. Hikofune's words when Renji and Ichigo came to her were clear when she said that the difference between training in the Soul Society and the Royal Palace is that the Royal Palace overshadowed by the power of Ryu. All the training that they do are covered with the power of Ryu. And therefore this factor has an important effect in increasing and accelerating the person's strength, whether physically or in terms of Ryatsu. Of course, this is only possible with the availability of technologies that doesn't exist in the Soul Society, and here lies the inventions of Zero Squad. Renji springs that accelerate treatment, and Hikofune's food that fills its eater with Ryatsu, and Nimaya, the maker of the Zanpakuto, as well as the place of Ichibi, a place that's full with Rishi that when Rukia and Renji came to it, they were enabled neither to breathe nor to stand. Therefore, the training in the Royal Palace, there is no doubt that it will increase the strength of the person. However, there remains one factor that can be said to be the main one in all of this, which is the strength of the person and what capabilities are available to him that can either be discovered or developed. And this is what we saw with Ichigo. Because of Nimaya's techniques, Ichigo was able to learn the truth about his powers and his true Zanpakuto. And this is the same point that occurred with Renji as well. Renji throughout the story has been fighting with half the name of his Bankai. And this is something that, if indicates that Renji didn't have enough communication with his Zanpakuto until Sabimaro told him the full name. And speaking of that, Kubo did a great job in building Renji's strength, because from the first moment Renji released the Bankai against Byakuya, his Bankai was incomplete. And we know that Renji's Zanpakuto is made up of two entities, a snake and baboon. However, when Renji said the name of the Bankai for the first time in the story, he said Hihyu, meaning the Baboon King. This shows that the strength of the snake didn't exist or it was incomplete. That's why Ichibi told Renji in his training that Zamibaro told him half the Bankai's name, and that there is another name which is the real or the full name of the Bankai. And in the story of Bleach, whether the name of the technique or the name of the Zanpakuto plays a big role in determining strength, and perhaps our most striking example is Yumichika. When Yumichika calls his Shikai by his unreal name, he looks like this, and he doesn't show his true strength. But when he calls him by his real name, the Zanpakuto in the Shikai mode shows his true abilities. And this is exactly what happened to Renji. In addition to the training he underwent in the Royal Palace, which boosted all his powers, knowing the full name of his Bankai made Renji obtain the full Bankai's power, so that the Bankai's real name is Sohu, which means the two kings. Thus Renji at that moment was able to fight with both power, the power of the Snake King and the power of the Baboon King. But back to the course of the battle and what happened in today's episode, here the question may arise. Is all this enough for Renji to outpace Masculine? This generator who was able to defeat 5 Shinigamis, including 2 captains and a vice captain and a Shinigami who has Bankai. Frankly, the answer to this question is difficult because there are several circumstantial factors that influence the course of some battles. For example, if we come to the fight of Masculine and Rose would have been able to hit Masculine with his Bankai and cause him massive damage on him if he just was able to shut his mouth. And this is the dilemma of many characters in Bleach, and how Kubo made some of their battles. And this is what happened to Rose. His own Bankai has a terrifying power. It is through music that he can form an illusion, and this illusion will have a physical effect on the opponent. And that illusion can only be escaped by destroying your eardrums. Because Masculine did this because he knew that James would treat him with his cheers, which are not only screams but energy emanating from James to Masculine, which gives him stronger strength than before. For example, Masculine, before he destroyed his eardrums, was hearing normally. But after James held his ears, his hearing became super and he could hear sounds from a mile away. And therefore, some of the parties to the battle believed that James was the main source of danger and that he should be killed. Hisagi thought so. Rose tried to kill him and Renji tried to do the same. But what everyone did not know is that James and Masculine are linked to the point that if the second party dies, the first will bring him back. If Masculine was on the brink of death or defeat, James will take him back to the ring with cheers. But Masculine's big mistake was killing James. And this is arguably the main cause of his defeat and not Renji's attack. That is, it is true that Renji's attack was devastating, but if James had stayed alive, he would guarantee victory over Renji. And therefore, even if James died and it took a few minutes to return, it was not important as long as he would win, or so he thought. But Renji's power in the Bankai was in another level of strength. The last attack that Renji used was a merger, the power of a true Bankai that was able to turn Masculine into ashes. But in the end, I say that the reason for the emergence of this imbalance in the scales of power is the weakness of Kinsey and Rose, as well as the rest of the Shinigami, and also Renji's training in the Royal Palace. These are all factors that made us see this power disparity between Renji and the captains. So guys, what do you think about this episode of today? Tell me your opinions in the comments and see you guys in my next video.